these lessons, we're going to focus on CSS. So we're sending our website to the stylist. Thanks to it, our website will get some colors, finally. So how we write CSS? Well, we need to actually create a new file. So we're going back to the atom, and we need to create a new file and save it. Command S as styles.css. So .css extension is very important because it gives the information that this is the actual cascading style sheet file, and we can use it to import the styles on the website. So I'm writing styles.css, but you can write this also as my styles. You can call it as ever you want. I prefer to call it styles.css. And now we're having our document ready. So what is CSS? CSS is another language that helps us to style some elements of the website, and a very important object in CSS is called a selector. Selector selects some elements of the website you create and apply some certain properties such as background, colors, or font families. In HTML, we were talking about tags. So in styles, we're going to have selectors. Let's create our first one. So for instance, we would like to color all the paragraphs. So we need to write the tag that is responsible for paragraphs, which is P. So I'm selecting all the P's, all paragraphs, and writing curly brackets. And inside them, I write some CSS properties. For instance, color, pink. A very important thing in CSS is to finish each of the line with semicolon. Don't forget about it. You can also write more CSS selectors. For instance, H1, so heading that is of the first level, will have another color, let's say salmon. I'm saving it using Command S or Control S on PCs, and well, nothing has happened. The thing is that we need to import those styles and connect it with HTML. How we can do this? Well, we do this using one tag called link. And for link, we have a specific attributes like rel, which stands for relation, and it's style sheet. We also write ref, so the path to our styles, which is styles.css. And you can see that the website has new colors, which is salmon heading and pink paragraph. So our styles started to work, finally. So let's briefly sum up what we did. We created another file, styles.css. We created two selectors, selector for paragraph and selector for heading. And we also linked our file, styles.css, in HTML document. Of course, we can add much more properties to make our website even more colorful. We can add background for each of the paragraph, for instance, yellow. We save it and see that our paragraphs have yellow background. We can also remove underline on each of the A, so each of the link. We can write text decoration none. And we can also change its color from blue to pink. So the question you might have right now is, how can you know that color property actually exists? Well, you need to learn it by practice, simply. But I hope that during my exercises you will be much more familiar with the certain CSS props. So we added some styles. Let's remove it because it looks like it's a paragraph. So yes, it's blue. And we've got 2 paragraphs. What about making a difference and highlighting one of the paragraphs, for instance, by applying a different background? Well, if we write P selector, it means that it selects all of the paragraphs that the browser comes across. So we cannot apply here another background because it simply won't know which of the paragraphs should be blue and which should be yellow. To differentiate some elements, we use CSS classes. So CSS class is a pretty important notion. It means that we can apply some CSS properties to elements with the class, with a specific class only. So let's create the first class. Let's call this highlight. So the rule is very simple. We also create the name, but before the name, we have to add the dot. Dot means that it's going to be a class. So we've got dot highlight. We read this as class highlight. And within curly brackets, we add CSS properties. For instance, background blue. I'm saving it, and my paragraphs are still the same. Same because we also need to apply CSS class in HTML. Let's say that the first P should be highlighted, so should have the blue background. We're adding to P tag the attribute which is called class and the name of the class. So it's highlight. I'm saving it and see that this paragraph has a class highlight and has background blue. So everything is correct. And the other paragraph is yellow. So if I copy this one and paste it below, it would have the same styles just as the selector P. If we add this class to the last one, you're going to see that the class is applied. So CSS class can be used multiple times, and it can also be used for various elements. For instance, for the heading. So not only these paragraphs have blue background, but also the heading hello. You can play with CSS classes and apply different properties such as font size. Let's say we want the font to be 20 pixels, and suddenly the paragraphs are bigger. We can change the color to white, and you will see that it instantly changed. The very interesting thing here is that P selector initially has color pink, but we overrode it with the class highlight and added a white to its color. Let's switch now to the web browser. Refresh the page. And let's take a look into DevTools. This is the same website that we were seeing just a minute ago. And if we open the DevTools, just to remind you that we're opening by right-click inspect, or you can use the shortcuts Command Option I or Control Alt I. And here we need to switch to elements. So we see here the HTML code. If I highlight some elements, for instance the paragraph, you can see that the highlight class is displayed here. It gives us the information that this piece of code, this text displayed on the website here, has background blue, font size 20 pixels, and curl white. I can comment it out. It means that I just don't want these changes. And it goes back to the previous CSS settings. So if I come back again, you will see that color and background from selector P are crossed out. It means that with the class highlight, we overwrote them. So it's good to use DevTools to see what's happening and what changes are actually applied. If we create another class, for instance, bigger, and define font size to 40 pixels, let's see what happens if we apply it to this paragraph. So how to connect to classes? Well, it's easy because we just need to add space between them and write the name of the second class. So we have highlight and bigger applied. And we can see that the last paragraph has a bigger font size. If we switch to DevTools and refresh the website, we're going to see that the bigger class overrode the font size. Initially, it was 20 pixels, but with the next class, bigger, the new value was applied. So the rules are simple. If we are going to use more classes with the same CSS properties, just remember that the one that is defined as the last in the styles CSS document would have the bigger power.